Very good morning, dear students. Welcome to the today's session. And in this session, we are going to continue the concept of privatization. In the last class, we have completed the discussion of what is liberalization and what are the areas what are the main sectors we have adapted the liberalization process. And today's session we are moving the one more important feature of new economic policy or economic reform, that is privatization. Because in new economic policy there were main three features. One is privatization, liberalization, privatization and globalization. And today we are going to discuss the second main feature of new economic policy, that is privatization. Here, before going to understand why we have adopted privatization, firstly we need to know the meaning of what is privatization. Here, take a meaning. Privatization means transferring of ownership or the management from public sector to private sector enterprises is nothing but privatization. We all discussed earlier, before 1990 there was a high role of government and more than 17 types of industries are under the control of government, and there is no freedom to enter in that particular industry, or it means no freedom to involve in the production of that particular products. So because of that reasons, almost all of the industries were lagging behind and there was less productivity and less financial growth. So to overcome all that particular problems, the government the experts have decided to privatize the institutions which were under the government control or public sector. Government is nothing but public sector. Then the country have planned to transfer the ownership or management from government to private people. From government, it means public sector to private sector enterprises. This is what privatization. Understood? Privatization refers to transferring the ownership or management from public sector to private sector. Take down the meaning. Privatization refers to transferring the ownership or management from public sector. Public sector is nothing but government. Got it? Transferring the management from public, it is government to private people, is nothing but privatization. Transferring the ownership or management from public sector to private sector. Private sector is nothing but public, the people of the country, is called it as a privatization. Keep in your mind, privatization refers to transferring the ownership or management from public sector or government to private sector enterprises is called as a privatization. Here, in the privatization process, the government taken one major step, that is nothing but disinvestment. Here, in order to privatize the public companies into a private enterprises. The first step is disinvestment of government institution. It's very simple. Disinvestment is nothing but privatizing the public sector enterprises by selling the equity shares of public sector enterprises to the public. Private sector means public sector means government. Okay, privatization means privatizing the public sector enterprises by selling the equity shares of public sector enterprises to the public is nothing but disinvestment. For example, or in any one particular industry is running by the government, then the government if invested 200 crores or something like that in the particular industry, then this 200 crores will be divided into a different shares, and selling the shares of this institution to a public will be transferred as a private sector enterprise. Got it? By selling the public sector enterprises equity shares or shares to the public is nothing but disinvestment. Take a meaning of disinvestment. Disinvestment. Already whatever the government invested, that invested money is taking back. Is nothing but disinvestment in a simple word. Okay? Already it is invested, taking back that invested money is nothing but disinvestment. Or in other words, disinvestment means privatization of public sector enterprises by selling of equities, by selling of equity of public sector enterprises. Your PSE means public sector enterprises. Keep in your mind, PSE is nothing but public sector enterprises. Short form I have written. PSEs. It means privatization of public sector enterprises by selling of equity of the public sector enterprises or equity shares of public sector enterprises to the public. Is nothing but, or to the public or to the people is nothing but disinvestment. Whatever the government invested in the particular institution or enterprises, taking back the investment by selling the equities of public sector enterprises to the public will be called it as a disinvestment procedure. By doing this disinvestment procedure, most of the government institutions or public sector institutions will become a private sector institution. That is called it as a privatization. Got it? Then the main purpose of the privatization is almost all of the government institutions or industries was facing severe losses because there was lack of investment and capital requirement was facing by the public sector industries because less scale or because less maintenance capacity of the government. Then to overcome that particular problems and to boost up the production capacity of industries and to adapt the modern technology and to attract the foreign direct investment, the government decided to privatize the institutions. Understood? Why we adapted the privatization means there are mainly three aims. What are that? Take down. Main purpose purpose of privatization is first one. The first and foremost important purpose of privatization are transferring of public sector into the private sector enterprises is to improve the financial discipline. To improve the financial discipline, because almost all the public sector enterprises was facing loss. The investment is more, the earning, it means investment is more, but returns from that institutions was very less. And to overcome this particular problem, we need proper management or proper authority to maintain the financial discipline, and the government become failure to maintain properly almost all the institutions or industries. Then to improve the financial discipline of our industries, the government decided to transfer the ownership to a private sector. Got it? And second most important purpose is to increase the productivity or production capacity by adapting modern technology or expertise is nothing but the second purpose of the privatization. Got it? The second main purpose is to increase the productivity or the production capacity of our Indian industries by adapting the modern technologies or expertise which are existed. Got it? And the third main purpose is to attract the foreign direct investment. In short form, we can call it as a FDI, foreign direct investment. Here in our country, we were facing lack of investment capacity and capital. Then, if you want to improve our industries, the one way we have, that is allowing the foreign institutions or foreign individuals to invest their money in our country's industries. That is what the main purpose of the government in order to privatize the industries. Got it? When we privatize the industries, the industries will get a freedom to attract the foreigners, to invest their money, their expertise, their technology and their talent in our country. In that way, automatically our country's industries can able to improve their production capacity, and also they can able to compete in the world market with other countries' industries. Okay, because of this purposes, the government have planned to privatize. Got it? This is what the second feature of new economic policy. Got it right? Privatization means transferring the ownership or management from public sector to private sector. And how we have adapted the privatization means through disinvestment. Here, disinvestment means privatization of public sector enterprises by selling off equities of the public sector enterprises to the public or to the private people or to the individuals. individuals of the country. Got it? Public means okay. Then the main purpose of the privatization in the country is to improve the financial discipline. There was many industries are started facing losses. It means the profit was very less, but investment was more. Investment is more, but income or profit is very less. To overcome that particular problem, the government privatize the so many institutions and to increase the productivity or production capacity by adapting the modern technology or enterprises and to attract the foreign direct investment or foreign institutional investment in Indian industries. It is nothing but privatization. Maybe they can ask for 2 marks or 4 marks. Then next we'll move to one more important feature of new economic policy, that is globalization. Okay, I hope you understood the privatization. Next we'll move to one more concept, that is globalization. Third feature is globalization. The next feature is globalization. Here, globalization means here opening of a country's economy. Before 1990, there was high restrictions on foreign trade and foreign relationships. But after adapting the reforms in our economic system under the globalization, okay, the country opened its economy with the world economy. Our integration means becoming a member of a world country. It means integration of Indian economy with the world countries. We call it as a globalization. Or else simply we can say that free flow of goods and services between the world countries without any restriction is called it as a globalization. And the globalization, after adapting the globalization in our country, the whole world become like a small village. We can export any kind of goods and services to our other countries, except which leads to a environmental crisis and which creates a problem in countries' national security. Except that too, remaining all kind of goods and services we can we are free to export to our other countries, and we are able to import from the other countries. Likewise, the free flow of goods and services from country to country without any restrictions is nothing but globalization. Why we have adapted globalization means the main aim of this globalization process is there is no country have enough resources to achieve the economic development, because the resources of the world is unequally distributed from the between the countries. Some of the countries will be reaching one kind of resource and some other countries will be reaching other resource. Like for example, Arab countries will be reaching oil, means petroleum products, and India is very rich in production of agricultural oriented goods, as well as European countries are very rich in capital oriented goods. Likewise, some of the countries having richness in some kind of resources. When we have globalization, it means free flow of goods and services between the country, it helps to the transformation of goods and services which we need to achieve the rapid economic development. In that way, the globalization will always help to the country to reach the economic growth and development. In that's why we have adapted globalization under the new economic policy. Now take a meaning of globalization. Here globalization is nothing but integration. It means joining the country's economy with the world economy. We are not becoming a separate, we are not making any differentiation between other countries. Okay, we are involving with the other countries with exporting and importing of goods and services. This is what globalization. Take a meaning. Globalization refers to integration. Integration means joining together. Integration of countries economy with the world economy. Please call it as a globalization, or else can take one more meaning. Globalization means free flow means without any qualitative or quantitative restriction. It means tariffs, quotas and taxes used to levied by the government by the export of goods and services as well as import of goods and services. When we adopted the globalization, now we are free from all the restrictions. Okay, that's what globalization means. Free flow of goods and services from country to another countries without any restrictions. We can write any one meaning. Okay, this is what globalization. And here, after adapting the globalization, most important benefit we got in our country, that is we have got the outsourcing services from the world countries. Outsourcing service means it is one of the important feature of globalization. Outsource is one of the important feature of globalization, and outsource means hiring the regular services from other country companies. They used to provide the work on the basis of communication technology and information technology. The process of outsourcing is intensified, or it's mingling with the progress of the improvement in the communication and information technology. As information and communication technology improving, the outsourcing services demand in our country is increased. And outsourcing, there are so many examples for outsourcing services. What are that is, one is BPOs, business process outsourcing. It also call it as call centers. Okay, BPOs have started establishing in the country, and also they used to provide the regular services like teaching, record keeping, accountancy, and film editing, music recording, and teaching. Likewise, the different kind of services we used to provide through outsourcing to other countries' companies. So many multinational companies and transnational companies have even their regular services to Indian IT companies. Okay, because why they are giving their regular services to our country means there is one okay main important feature in our country. We have a huge manpower compared to other countries except China, and here we have a skilled laborers as well as the rate of wages. It means the salaries for the manpower was very less in India. Then, so because of that reason, they used to provide the outsourcing services to our country, and our country become a global destination for the outsourcing services. India become a global destination for the outsourcing services. Why? Because we have a huge manpower with less, with high skills and with less wage rate. We have a huge manpower with high skills and less wage rate. And because of this particular reason, most of the foreign countries, that too especially developed countries, was facing a lack of manpower, and that particular countries companies used to provide the outsourcing services to a country. This is called the outsourcing. And take down, outsourcing is a outsourcing is a important feature of globalization. And here in outsourcing the companies gets regular services from external sources. External means outside of the country. It means mostly from the foreign countries. Outsourcing will be service given by the foreigners and providing by country. Service will be given by them and providing by country. That is called outsourcing. Outsourcing is they will ask what do you mean by outsourcing. Outsourcing is the regular service from the external. Outsourcing is the companies gets regular services from the external sources, mostly from the foreign countries. And here outsourcing is intensified or is integrated with the development of communication and information technology. Why we are using outsourcing means without information technology like computers and without databases and without saving options, we can't able to provide outsourcing. When the outsourcing got exposure means by developing the communication and information technology. That's why outsourcing is intensified with growth of communication and information technology. Information technology means IT. Information technology. The examples for outsourcing is BPOs, or we can call it as voice based business process. Voice based business process. It means B processes like BPOs, voice-based business process examples is BPOs and call centers. Are the example for voice-based business process. Your examples for outsourcing is voice-based business process, under that BPOs and call centers, and also here other examples for outsourcing is record keeping, accountancy, film editing, and music recording, banking service, music recording, banking services, book, clinical advisors, and teaching. These are the best examples for outsourcing. We can ask what are the examples for outsourcing. First one, voice-based business process, record keeping, accountancy, film editing, music recording, banking services, and clinical advisors and teaching. Clinical advisors is nothing but through the video conference, through audio conferences, treating the medical emergencies is comes under the clinical advice. Teaching, nowadays any university, the professors can work in other countries' university through involving in the online classes. That is called teaching. It means providing the services to the other countries through telecommunication and through information technology or communication technology is nothing but outsourcing. And here multinational companies, most multinational companies and small companies are outsourcing their service to India. Why? Because in India there is a huge population and high skill with less wages. That's why India become global destination for the outsourcing. Next, because the low wage rate and availability of skilled manpower, availability of skilled manpower, India became global destination, destination, global destination for outsourcing. Okay, this is what about outsourcing, and it's the most important outcome or feature of the globalization. And here this question used to arise for 4 months or 6 months. Very important in examination of point of view. They will ask for whether 4 months or 6 months. Okay, there will be a definite question from this. Okay, then next class, under the globalization, we will going to discuss what do you mean by WTO, how it works, and what are the impacts of globalization on Indian economy. This all the concepts will continue in the next session, and I hope all of you understood the meaning of privatization, globalization, and outsourcing. And we'll continue for next concepts in the one more session. Thank you everyone.